Topping today's news, police believe they found the man responsible for a number of recent sexual assaults in the southwestern area of New Providence. The Minister of Education reacts after an off-campus stabbing involving students on Monday and the Freedom of Information Office getting closer to opening. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. The alleged culprit believed to be responsible for several sexual assault incidents in the Bacardi Road area is being held behind bars today. Police arrested a 27-year-old male of Lincoln Boulevard who was out on bail for armed robbery and murder around 2:30 p.m. on Tuesday at his residence. He was arrested by officers from the Criminal Investigations Department without incident. And according to Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings, officers also recovered the alleged vehicle used in the commission of the crimes, along with a loaded pistol. This past Saturday, a woman was forced into a vehicle at gunpoint in the Bacardi Road area before she was robbed and then taken into nearby bushes where she was sexually assaulted. On Monday, police warned residents in the surrounding areas to be vigilant after a reported increase in sexual assaults. Police attributed the successful apprehension of this suspect to excellent police detection with the use of all available resources. Notwithstanding this significant arrest, members of the public, you are encouraged to follow all crime prevention and safety protocols recently given by the police. Following the recent string of sexual assaults against women in the country, First Lady Anne-Marie Davis telling reporters that these incidents are a grave concern. She says that there must be more outreach to men to prevent these heinous crimes.
Very disheartening. I have been saddened in the last few days when I saw Monday's papers about the string of sexual assaults, rapes that happened over the weekend, and how many more sex crimes are being committed, despite all the work that we're doing. Advocates and everyone else is doing, the court system, the police, despite all the work that we're doing, it's still happening. So we have to have, I think, a lot more education, a lot more men NGOs, male NGOs, a lot more sensitization of men.
Mrs. Davis goes on to say that intervention should start from an early age and there must be a closer eye on the mental health of our youth.
Young men especially, and I think, there's so much work to be done with children from the time they're kids, the young men, to teach them not to do this sexual assault and rape. It's just, maybe it has something to do with mental health. So we have to look at this in a very broad perspective. We have to attack this problem through mental health solutions, that and the advocacy, the education. We have to, and the rearing of the family, the value system that are placed in the family from young, equality, equity in the family. Boys are just as important as girls. From the time they're small, they have to be taught this. There's just so many things to do to help eradicate the scourge that we have. It's very saddening and disheartening.
Again, this past Saturday, a woman was forced into a vehicle at gunpoint in the Bacardi Road area before she was robbed and then taken into nearby bushes where she was sexually assaulted. On Monday, two women were asleep in their apartment in the area of Chippenham when two males gained entry through a window in the building and produced a firearm, robbing them before sexually assaulting both victims. The gender violence bill is near completion. This coming from Minister of Social Services and Urban Development, O.B. Wilschcombe, who says the Attorney General has completed the final draft.
We're dealing generally with matters pertaining to violence, in particular violence against women. So you'll see a lot of that in the legislation.
Stiffer penalties for domestic violence?
Penalties already exist, but we'll be talking about a number of the mechanism, how we deal with issues, how we respond to issues, the protection of women, children.
First Lady Anne-Marie Davis expressed her delight in the bill being completed. She has been at the forefront of advocacy for the bill to be tabled and passed.
I'm elated to know that the gender-based violence bill will be tabled shortly, according to the Minister Wilchcombe. I'm looking forward to it, for the debate, to highlight the parts of the bill that we want to hear most about. The definitions, and also the penalties, and different things like that. We have a women's conference coming up shortly in August. As you know, it's called 13 WAM. It's the Women Affairs Ministerial Meeting for the Commonwealth countries. And we would love to know that the gender-based violence bill would have been tabled, discussed, and passed before that ministerial meeting comes about in August. So I'm very happy to see that it's coming forward now.
Mrs. Davis goes on to say that this bill will bring a level of safety for women who have been suffering in silence for a very long time. She also commented on the time taken for the bill to be completed.
We're going to push when the gender-based violence bill is passed, which we know it will. We would be so much more excited and energized to do a lot more advocating and educating about what the bill is about and what we can and cannot do, and just education totally. I would like to see a mass education exercise after the gender-based violence bill is passed. Children, from the time they're kids, the young men, to teach them not to do this. This sexual assault and rape, it's just, maybe it has something to do with mental health. So we have to look at this in a very broad perspective. We have to attack this problem through mental health solutions, that and the advocacy, the education. We have to, and the rearing of the family, the value system that are placed in the family from young. Equality, equity in the family. Boys are just as important as girls. From the time they're small, they have to be taught this. There's just so many things to do to help eradicate the scourge that we have. It's very saddening and disheartening. Yes, I thought it took a while. I knew it was in the consultancy stages, and I'm happy that that's finished now. The minister said that people have to have their say, which I agree with. Consultation is always important on a widespread level. So I'm happy that that's all come to an end now.
Following the stabbing of a male student on Monday afternoon, Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training, Glenys Hannah Martin, says the government will continue to do all that it can to address the behavioral issues which plague the education system. The Education Minister says they will continue to do the best that they can.
This is part of a larger problem we have in our country, and we're going to continue to battle it until we get on top of it. We've put police officers who are specially trained on the campuses. There are many interventions to address issues of anger management, and we've put busing from the campus. This was off campus, so the students apparently walking home or wherever they were walking to. So, we will continue to do our best to resist what this sort of social deterioration that we are seeing in terms of violence all around us. And our young people are not affected because they come from the communities, and they're the products of what we see happening all around us. But we will not relinquish our young people to this.
Minister Hannah Martin suggests social media plays an intricate part in the violent activities that we have seen among our school students. She believes it will take a multilateral effort to combat violence on school campuses.
Issues is the use of social media. This is a major challenge, and it's a lot of sort of vexatious interactions that are happening. I think during the pandemic it became more established, and it has continued now that schools are open. But we will continue to resist it. We are trying every effort to ensure that we are able to facilitate safety on the campuses. This was off campus, and so the police are managing it now. They're dealing with it, and we will wait to get their report. But certainly, on the school campus, we seek to ensure safety as best we can. This requires a large effort. This is not a one-dimensional thing of the Ministry of Education, the teachers, The principal, this is something, particularly because it was off campus. This is something that requires all hands on deck.
The Bahamas Games that are set to be a part of the celebration of the Golden Jubilee for the Bahamas' 50th independence, the long-awaited return of the Olympic-style games, are set for July 6th to the 15th. And with the games about 7 weeks away, JCN Love 97 was surprised to learn of some challenges being faced by at least one of the island teams that is unhappy with the games' secretariat. We hear more in this next report. In February this year, it was reported that with 5 months to go, the Bahamas Games Secretariat, led by Chairman Martin Lundy, was putting the finishing touches on the games that have been dubbed the Golden Jubilee Games. In March of this year, Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Mario Boleg, said in the House of Assembly plans for the Bahamas Games are moving full steam ahead. While there is no doubting any of those statements, at least one island association set to compete at the Games has raised concerns over a number of issues, including funding. In an exclusive interview, Roy Colbrook, chairman of the New Providence Sports Council, accusing the Secretariat of drastically shaving the budget for Team New Providence.
The Secretary has been in place for 2+ years now. To this day, federations, some consuls haven't received any funding, anything like that. For instance, let's talk about New Providence. In New Providence, today is the 17th of May. We submitted a budget that would have sufficed to ensure that Team New Providence to be taken care of. And what happened is they want to spend less than 10%, and they want to send like $20,000 to account. Tell me what in the world could that do for the New Providence team, which would be consistent of some 510 persons.
Mr. Colbrook says uniforms alone for Team New Providence cost over $70,000 for the 510-member team. He says the various island sports councils were asked by the Game Secretariat to solicit sponsors to assist with team preparations, something he says all islands emphatically rejected. Another concern expressed by Mr. Colbrook has to do with Team New Providence exclusion from the Games Village. He says New Providence is being treated unfairly.
We in the Sports Council from New Providence, we feel that the New Providence team is being discriminated against. Why? One, New Providence team cannot be a part of accommodation in the Game Village. Those persons who are forced into the draft from New Providence and Grand Bahamas, they too would not be a part of the Games Village. But, it's 21 years since we had the last Bahama Game. I would have thought that if we're going to have the Bahama Game, government should have the funding ready and prepared for the Bahama Games. When there was no issues when it was Carissa was just gone enough. Now is the Bahama Games, everyone is saying they're looking at finances as relates to New Providence team, as relates to federations getting sufficient budgets to run the games. And so it gives me a great concern.
Mr. Colbrook says an endless amount of meetings have yielded little results. He says there is a long list of things that need to be done if the games are going to be successful, and he makes a bold recommendation if these things cannot be addressed in time for the games.
Everything for the Bahama Games started very late. Right now, you still have a number of things that are not in place. Finances, number one. Uniforms, number two. And so it is our belief that two things should happen. Either push the Bahama Games back or have it next year. Because clearly, the organization of it, in our opinion, isn't what it should be for having the Secretariat in place for such a long time.
The early budget for the Independence edition of the Bahamas Games was $1.3 million, with approximately $600,000 for the 10 island councils and 14 sports federations to prepare. Mr. Colbrook says he realizes that he may be targeted for speaking out, but he is willing to do what it takes to protect and defend the athletes from New Providence. Meanwhile, JCN Love 97 has unconfirmed reports that Martin Lundy has been recently replaced as chairman of the Games Secretariat. And finally, in this segment, access to information is on the horizon as the Freedom of Information Unit began its training of information managers on Tuesday at the National Training Agency. Freedom of Information Commissioner and retired Supreme Court Justice Keith Thompson says following the 3-day training, information managers will be the go-to individuals for the public when they are requesting access to information under their pilot program.
But presently, the training that starts today and runs for 3 days is the first step. The second phase of that would be training on the actual system that the public will use to make the requests to the various ministries and or agencies for information that those ministries or agencies hold. Now, that particular training cannot take place until the technology is in place. It's presently being created. And we anticipate having that technology in place by September, October.
According to Commissioner Thompson, following this, the first 10 government agencies in the program will be able to respond to the public, and additional agencies will be added to the ongoing program.
It wouldn't be the entire civil service, right? Because there are so many agencies and ministries, we have to phase them in, right? And so what's taking place here today will be repeated for example, an additional 10 ministries or agencies, and then we do another 10 or 15. This morning we've had at least 2 to 3 ministries that have asked to join this first set of training, which is encouraging.
As to when the full rollout will begin, Commissioner Thompson says that cannot happen until all ministries and agencies have been trained. He encourages young people to look into the information management field, as this is a first for the Bahamas.
As I would have said earlier, records keeping / records managing or management, and this information manager position creates a new career path in the civil service. And so young people may want to look into it further as a career, because this is a first for the Bahamas, a first. And as I would have said, we wouldn't wish anyone to look at this as us against them or them against us. The whole idea of access to information is to bring about more accountability, more transparency, and as I would have said in there, first and foremost, preserving the integrity of our system. And so those are the 3 pillars on which freedom of information stands: accountability, transparency, and integrity.
The Freedom of Information Act 2017 is expected to increase governmental accountability, transparency, and public participation in national decision making. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.